once in a metropolitan, restless city of lights. A city that never truly slept, where fortunes were made and lost every day. Trust was a rare currency. Roads pulsed with constant traffic. The air carried a mix of sea salt from the distant Arabian coast, dust from construction sites, and the sharp aroma of roadside chai are the true face of it since decades. There stood an old, respected bank in this city of ambition and struggle, its stone walls carrying decades of trust, savings, and silent promises. Inside that bank worked a young cashier whose life was simple, disciplined, and guided by values taught at home long before he ever learned numbers and ledgers. He came from a modest family, believed in honest work, and wore integrity like a second uniform. Among colleagues, he was known as reliable. Among friends, dependable. Among family, a quiet pride. Every morning, he reached the bank energetic and attentive, balancing cash drawers with precision, checking records twice when once would have been enough, and helping colleagues with patience that never seemed forced. Senior officers trusted him, junior staff respected him, and customers remembered his calm face long after they met him once. He had dreams, but not greedy ones. Just stability, dignity, and a clean conscience. The young cashier was in a struggling phase. But on the other side, among all the other employees, the senior accounts manager of the bank was everything the cashier was not. Charismatic, powerful, influential, and well-connected. Years in the system had built the senior accounts manager a reputation of authority. His office was larger, his voice louder, his circle stronger. To most, he appeared successful and sharp. To the cashier, he was simply a superior officer whose instructions were followed without question. The staff, employees, management, and clients of the bank held the senior accounts manager in high regard. One evening, after a long shift, the cashier stopped by a small cafe near the bank. It was the place bank employees often visited, ordinary and unremarkable. As the cashier waited for tea, his eyes caught something unusual. Sitting at a corner table was the senior accounts manager, accompanied by 3 men who did not belong to the bank. Their appearances were strikingly different. One dressed black suit and tie sharply with the confidence of legal power. Another carrying himself with familiarity, wearing ordinary pants shirt. And the third bearing the unmistakable aura of political influence, wearing waistcoat on straight shirt and pants. The moment the senior accounts manager noticed the cashier, something changed. The relaxed posture vanished. Within moments, the group stood up and left together, abandoning unfinished cups and half-spoken intentions. The suddenness of their exit left a quiet ripple of unease in the cashier's mind. He tried to dismiss it, reminding himself that curiosity without proof was dangerous. Still, the image followed him home that night. Weeks passed. Life returned to routine. Numbers moved, stamps pressed, signatures verified. Then one afternoon, fate repeated itself, but this time, with purpose. The cashier again noticed the same group at the same cafe. This time, they did not leave. They remained seated, heads bent close together, voices low, movements calculated. And this time, the senior accounts manager noticed the cashier and invited him to join them. What followed was not spoken openly, yet everything became clear. The air itself felt heavy. The cashier understood the purpose of the gathering without needing words. The men around the table were not strangers. They were partners. Partners in a long-running fraud that had quietly drained trust, money, and lives. The sharp-dressed man in black suit was a lawyer who manipulated legal loopholes. The familiar one wearing casual pants shirt was the senior manager's cousin, a shadow operator who handled fake identities and forged documents. The third wearing waistcoat was a senior worker of a powerful political party, provided protection, pressure, and silence. And the senior accounts manager was the center, using the bank systems to reroute funds, delay alerts, and erase traces. For months, they had targeted clients who trusted the bank blindly. Now, they had a new victim, a factory owner whose business employed hundreds. A man with multiple accounts, personal, corporate, and payroll, through which millions of rupees flowed due to international consignments. Every worker in his factory depended on that bank for their salary. One manipulation, one falsified transfer, and the damage would be irreversible. The cashier sat frozen, his mind racing while his body remained still. Fear, anger, disbelief, and responsibility collided inside him. He was being invited not as a witness, but as a recruit. Walking away was not an option anymore. Refusing would mean suspicion. Exposing these fraudsters immediately would mean danger. These were not men who feared rules, they controlled them. So the cashier made the hardest decision of his life. He pretended to join them. From that moment, cashier's life split into two. By day, he was the same honest cashier. By night, he became a silent observer, carefully stepping through a maze of corruption without triggering its traps. He began memorizing patterns, transaction timings, account numbers, internal approvals. He noticed how fake delays were used to confuse clients, how small amounts were tested before massive transfers, how political pressure silenced internal audits. He stored evidence not in devices that could be traced, but in handwritten codes, memory sequences, and duplicated paper trails hidden in plain sight. The danger grew daily. Anonymous warnings reached him indirectly. His family sensed the change, his silence, his restlessness, his tired eyes, but he kept them away from the truth to protect them. At the same time, the fraudsters grew confident. They trusted him. They revealed more. They prepared the final move against the factory owner, planning a transfer so complex that by the time it was noticed, blame would fall on international delays and legal confusion. That was when the cashier acted. He quietly alerted the highest internal audit authority, using verified evidence that could not be denied. He approached the owner of the bank through secure channels, presenting not accusations but irrefutable patterns. Simultaneously, he ensured the factory owner was informed in a way that prevented panic but ensured vigilance. The climax came swiftly and brutally. A surprise audit froze the system mid-transaction. External regulators arrived. Legal warrants followed. Political pressure tried to interfere, but failed under the weight of documented truth. The lawyers' loopholes collapsed. The cousins' fake identities were exposed. The political shield cracked under public scrutiny. And the senior accounts manager, the untouchable, was removed in disgrace. The cashier's role was revealed. At first, suspicion surrounded him. He was interrogated, examined, tested, but every step he had taken was clean. Every risk he had calculated was precise. His loyalty had never shifted. It had simply gone silent until the right moment. The factory owner's funds were secure. Employees received their salaries without delay. The bank's reputation, though shaken but survived, because of transparency and courage. The young cashier did not celebrate. He did not seek fame. But within the bank, his name changed meaning. He was no longer just honest. He was brave. No longer just loyal. He was incorruptible. His promotion came quietly. His respect came loudly. And long after the scandal faded from headlines, one lesson remained etched in the walls of that bank. Sometimes, the most powerful hero is not the one who shouts, but the one who stays silent, observes, and then acts.